very honorable panelists, Mushahid Hussain Sayyid Saab, Madam Hina Rabani Khar Sahaba, and the Brigadier Saab, Excellencies, indeed a great scholarly assembly of the different countries and areas. The topic which has been assigned to me is the role of religion in national building. Religion is generally viewed as part of problem. But there are areas in which we can claim that religion can be a very strong source for national integration and national building. In Pakistani context, if we go back to history, in the very early years when Pakistan came into being, there was a controversy that if Pakistan is an Islamic state, what type of Islam and Islamic order will be implemented in Pakistan? Sunni, Shia, within Sunni, Devbandi, Barelvi, Ahle Hadith. The answer came by the ulama, the religious scholars, in the shape of 22 points developed during 1951, 52, and 53, saying that if any constitution is based and any law and society are based on these 22 points, then there would be no problem within the Islamic denominations, Sunni, Shia, Devbandi, Barelvi, Ahle Hadith. So the 22 points are indeed agreed upon by all the Muslim ulama denominations, and which led to a great national integration and nation building. And then in the recent past, we see what was going on in the Pakistani scenario. States within the state. Sajna, Mullah Abbas, Haibatullah, Naik Muhammad, and Mullah of Pistol Mullah in Khyber area. Different flags, different orders, different laws within Pakistan. And then our nation saw the tragedy of the Army Public School, which resulted in the National Action Plan. And then within the National Action Plan, provenance was the National Action Plan, we concluded a narrative by the name of Paigam-e Pakistan, the message of Pakistan, which was agreed upon by all the denominations, the Shias, Sunnis, Devbandi, Barelvis, Ahle Hadith, Jamaat Islam. Again, 22 points. But the conclusion of these 22 points were three major points. First, that armed action is prerogative of the state alone. No individual, no group can resort to armed action. The second thing was that suicide attacks are contrary to Islamic principles. The third major point in this was takfir, excommunication, declaring others kafir, non-Muslims, is not allowed in Islamic paradigm. The result was that after the Paigam-e-Pakistan, when the religious groups and the religious parties and the religious denominations provided support to the state, after that we saw the armed struggle, armed action by the state, and Pakistan, entire Pakistan, came under one flag. So religion contributed to the nation building. I will also highlight another example in the recent past. The government allowed a mandir, a Hindu temple, place of worship, for the Hindu community in Islamabad area. And you saw the reaction of some irrational people going in the evening, giving azan on the site of the mandir, breaking some bricks and considering it as an action for reward from Allah. Great embarrassment for Pakistan. On the diplomatic front, Pakistan going back on its stand on the Babri Mosque in India. The issue was referred to the Council of Islamic Ideology, a constitutional body constituted under 1973 Constitution of Pakistan. Council of Islamic Ideology did research for 3 months, right from the beginning. What does the Quran say in such situations? What does the Hadith say, in this situation? What was the practice of the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, peace be upon him? The Umayyads, the Abbasids, the Ottomans, and then when Islam and Muslims came to India, Muhammad bin Qasim, Mahmud Ghaznavi. Then post-nation-state position, nation-states, Gandhi-Jinnah Pact, formation of the Evacuee Properties Trust, then Constitution of Pakistan, signed by greatest ulama of the time, Maulana Mufti Mahmud, Maulana Hazarvi, Maulana Shah Ahmad Nurani, Jamaat Islami Professor Ghafoor Ahmad. What does the Constitution say? And then in the end, we concluded that Sharia and Pakistani Ain, Constitution, give right to the non-Muslims to have their own community center, to have their own crematorium, and to have their own worship place. And there is already a Hindu temple available at Saidpur, a very historic place. We demanded and recommended to the government that Hindu temple should be released and should be handed over to the Hindu Panchayat, the Hindu Assembly of Islamabad. And the problem after that was resolved in a peaceful manner, supported by all the religious denominations, and the Hindu Panchayat, the Hindu Assembly, was very happy as well. The CPAC. And then what can be the probable role of the religious denomination, the religious scholars? The whole route of the CPAC is fraught with fault lines. Right from the beginning, Sust, Gilgit, is an area where there in the past used to be Shia-Sunni conflicts. Then when we come to the route to the Chashma area, and there are polemic discussions, Hayati and Mamati. Villages, rural people have been engaged on these controversies, whether Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is still alive or he is not alive. Polemic discussions, society being divided. When we go to Balochistan, then there is this alliance, unseen alliance of the BLA, Balochistan Liberation Army, and the Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, the anti-Shia organizations. Because the BLA wants a Hazara free Balochistan, and the Lashkar-e-Jhangvi would like to see a Shia free Balochistan, Hazara Shia. So convergence of interest. Only Paigham-e-Pakistan can be utilized for making this route safe for the future prospects of great national integrity and nation building. So I think that in Pakistani perspective, if we tried to bring on board the religious elements like we did in the Paigham-e-Pakistan, there is great space for utilizing the religion, for utilizing the religious circles, for national integration, and for nation building with wisdom and with broader mutual consultation. These were a few words which I wanted to present before you on the theme which has been assigned to me. I'm extremely grateful for IPRI, which has given me this honor to address such a distinguished gathering. I thank you very much indeed.